Check 1 2, Study Studio live and direct, aka The Kickback, coming to you. Countercultural Life podcast, where we talk about how to walk this life out counterculturally, going opposite of what culture and society is telling us. A very Christ-like life, even though this is not a Christian podcast, but maybe it is a Christian podcast. You don't really know. Anyway, want to have these conversations, not be afraid of these conversations that I want to have with people about how to get better, how to really step into your, what I would say, God-designed purpose. So today, I bring back with me the best part of my countercultural life. The ranking structure goes God, and then my wife, Bree. She is here with me today to talk about something that I know she loves, because being married to me is all about systems, and I know she loves all of my systems. And then you can tell by her nonverbal response that she does not love all of my systems. So this comes up because in an event yesterday, I was asked, how do I really operate my life? I was teaching a leadership course yesterday, a leadership academy for a local nonprofit, and they asked me, how do you really do this? Like, how do you live in these 4 areas? And the 4 areas we've talked about are spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. So as a reminder, spiritual space, spiritual space, where do I come from? Mental space, who determines right and wrong? Emotional space, why am I here? And physical space, where do I go when it's over? So the question that came up was, how do you operate your life in those 4 areas and schedule your life? And anybody that knows me knows that I am very systematic in how I do things, because it makes me the most, I believe it makes me the most efficient and effective person that I can be. So I am addicted to something. I have an addiction, and it's just real. And I gotta be real with everyone that's watching and listening. I have an addiction. Everybody struggles with addiction. Look, we're going to get deep into understanding addictions. And the addiction that I struggle with starts with a P. It does starts with a P. So a lot of people are thinking it's a certain word, but the addiction that I struggle with is productivity. I'm addicted to being productive. I am addicted to having a perfect day, because my productivity levels are at an all-time high every day. So because of that addiction, I build systems into everything. So let's get a perspective from somebody that is the closest person to me on this planet. She does like systems. She is not addicted to productivity like I am. She is not addicted to systems. She sees the benefits and she builds them where she feels they are necessary. What is it like living with me and my systems?
It's great because I know what to expect, but it's annoying because any change to the system or any sudden change can throw you completely off.
Okay, let's talk about that. Give me an example of when my system gets thrown off. What can you see? What's my response when my system gets jacked up?
A whole attitude change.
A whole attitude change. What is my attitude
Not
change?
good. It's not a positive attitude.
It's not positive. Have I become a jerk before when my system?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, for sure. I become a jerk when my systems get thrown off. What's one time that you can think of, anytime recently, that my system has been thrown off and you have seen the jerk in me come out? Do you remember? Can you think about it?
We don't like our gym time thrown off. If something needs to be done, it's a whole ordeal.
It is. That is.
You've gotten much better, but it's still an ordeal.
Because Bree's had to learn grace with me, and I've had to learn grace with myself as sometimes my systems get thrown off. So there is a space when you're trying to be productive to where it becomes an addiction that is hurtful. And sometimes I use my desire to create systems as a way to procrastinate from actually doing the thing that I need to do. This podcast is a great example of me trying to create the perfect system to make it happen. So let me tell you how many starts and stops this took as I was building my system. So what was the first thing I did? 5 years ago on Father's Day, someone purchased me a mic and this little red, what is the thing called? The Focuslight red box, the podcast box. Interface, the interface. Thank you, Noah, behind the scenes, keeping me straight as usual.
Was it just 5 years ago? I feel like it was more than that.
It might have been more than 5 years ago, but in the process, I knew, how did this come about? A lot of people were saying, hey, you need to podcast some of this stuff that you're talking about. You need to share it with people. And I said, yeah, whatever. You're just being nice. But the more people came to me and started saying, hey, you need to get this stuff out there, the more I wanted to do it. So I mentioned it to Bree on Father's Day. She bought me the mic and the interface to start shooting this. And it sat in this room for years set up because I don't know how to do it. And to do it right, I wanted to study out, learn it. So in the meantime, I spent $350 on a course about how to create a podcast
that you didn't use.
That I only used. Yes. Noah's laughing. Everybody's laughing. I did not use. I only used it for, I used it for like a month. But part of it was the system of that system. So I was like, oh, I got to build this out based off of this system that they're using. Oh, I can't get it right. I got to start over. So then I couldn't get anything right. Then I couldn't get all the stuff they were saying. And then I had another close friend come to me and say, Drew, just do it. What are you doing? Just do it. Jamie Hall, shout out to Jamie Hall going, what are you waiting on? Just do the podcast. So that stuck in my brain. And then I started making moves and then met a young man named Noah who helped me really get this going. So that was all systems. I couldn't get the system right. So I procrastinated and didn't build anything. And look, I'm talking to somebody out there because there's somebody out there that procrastinates because they don't really want to do it. They like the idea of doing it, but they don't really want to do it. So they use procrastination and building other things. And the term we love to use now is research. I got to do research. You've heard me say it many times. I got to do some research on it first.
Analysis to paralysis.
Analysis to paralysis. That is my temperament. I am in the 4 lenses vernacular. We'll talk about that more. We've talked about it before on a couple episodes with Dr. Beard. I am a green, so I am highly focused on being competent, so I can't do anything unless I look and feel fully competent in it. And that is analysis to paralysis. So let's talk about your systems. Like, why do you build systems? Because you are a great builder of systems. Let's look at it like this. How would you define a system? For those people out there that don't understand what systems are, how would you define a system?
Structure.
A structure that you put on something, yep.
The way things should flow.
The way things should flow out of something. Mm-hmm. The way things should operate. We build a lot of church systems. Bree builds a lot of church systems. So basically like volunteer systems, Sunday systems, how to make a church go. A lot of stuff that people don't realize behind the scenes of making an organization move is you have to have systems behind it. I heard a great leader one time said that, it's funny because this is a quote that I use a lot, but it's part of this quote is a quote, which has always been funny to me. They say mediocre leaders have quotes. Good leaders have a plan. Great leaders build systems. So if you think about it, like the people that have been successful in life have been able to build systems around their life. And you have systems all the time. Bree, you have a system. Your system, how you wake up in the morning. What does your morning look like? What do you do? You know I'm coming at you right now because I'm trying to pick apart your morning
We've
system
already talked about you not doing that.
Oh yeah, I can't put you on the spot.
Right.
What does your morning look like?
It depends on the morning.
See, that's the difference between me and her. My morning looks the exact same, doesn't depend on the morning.
It just depends on the morning.
Hers depends on the morning. And that's okay for her. And that's okay for some people. But everybody, she would say it depends on the morning, but there is a process that she does every morning to start her day. There is a process. So if we're talking about a daily process, for me, it's I get up, I let the dogs out, I make my
Your disgusting drinks that you make me drink.
I make my disgusting drinks that I make her drink, which is my Live It Up, aka Live It Up is the powder that we're using now, the green powder, the superfoods powder. And we're comparing it right now. You can come back for a comparison later between that and AG1. So we're doing a comparison right now about what actually tastes the best, makes you feel good. Anyway, I have seen a definite increase in my energy taking this every morning. So before water, so I get up, let the dogs out, make the drink. I then get ready, and then I go into work. On the way into work, I listen to a devotional, a Bible, something. And every morning there's an element of devotion. There's an element of prayer in my morning every morning. And that's my morning system, never changes. It's always the same. There's always those elements in it.
I'm aware.
Or see, she said she's aware. What do my days get up when my morning? Do my days get messed up when my morning system gets messed up?
1,000,000%.
Okay, 1,000,000%. I'm really not this much of a jerk, I promise.
I'm not saying you're a jerk. You just are thrown off sometimes when your system is not systeming that day.
When my system is not systeming, yes, I am thrown off. So that is the overview of systems. And now let's talk about the 4 spaces and how you build it into your day. So I would say that your day has to be planned out. For those of you that are in leadership positions, even those that aren't in leadership positions, you have to operate according to your calendar. You cannot go through life without a plan.
I mean, you can.
You can. And well, look, I don't care. I'm just going to start saying the stuff that I feel. You don't become successful on accident. I don't care what anybody says. There's no success on accident. And there is no overnight successes. These people have to have a plan. There has to be a plan. Unless you win the lottery, unless you fall into an inheritance, that's the only, but that doesn't even mean success. That means you just got money. Like, what does success look like? So let's break it down. What does success look like? Before we get into building systems, what does success in your mind look like, Bree? What does a successful life look like? She said not to put her on the spot. I put her on the spot twice already.
So I won't be coming back.
You live here. You have to come back.
I won't be coming back in this room. I don't think it necessarily is around money. Success to me would be our children being happy and us living a long, healthy life filled with our kids and grandkids.
Okay.
One day.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So you say living a long, happy life, happy kids.
Healthy,
happy life with happy kids. I would say happy, productive kids. Oh, there comes that word again, productive.
Oh, for sure.
Happy, productive members of United States society. No, of the world society. Doesn't matter what. Happy, productive members of society. How do you get there? So what are some of the things that are going to determine that you live a long, healthy, happy life?
Taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally.
Okay, so it goes back to a system. You have to develop a system to do that. Because what does that mean? So if you look at it, let's just break it down. What is taking care? Because we have these plans. See, everybody has a plan. But you have to build it out and understand what the plan even consists of before you can really walk towards it. So a lot of people do this, and they do it just like she did. Taking care of myself. What does that mean?
Well, see, taking care of myself is technically you putting my vitamins together for me and making my green drink every day and encouraging me to walk. So
So sometimes you have to have somebody in your life that helps you do these things. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's why God brought us together, because she knew I would do the things that help her take care of herself. It's interesting, though, that that's a system, because my goal is for her, in my mind, what I want Bree to be is I want her to be a active grandmother. That's because I know one of her dreams is to be a grandmother. That's one of the dreams of a lot of people. I mean, I don't, that's not one of my dreams to be a grandparent. I mean, I think it would be cool. And it's always cool to have a legacy, and your kids are part of your legacy, but it's like a dream for you. It's like, oh, it'll happen for me. But I do know what I've thought about is when we get there, I want to be able to pick my grandkids up, not from school in a car. I mean, pick my grandkids up off the ground and give them hugs. And to do that, you have to start building systems now into your daily plan to get there. I heard the best definition of discipline. I'm going to get it wrong. I have it written down, but I've been wrestling with it in my mind. Discipline is making decisions that positively affect your future self. That's the definition of discipline. Like, and if I want the future, the decisions that I make now are going to positively affect my future self, that's going to enable me to say, I have to get up every morning and make this green juice. I have to take my vitamins. I have to walk. I have to lift weights. I have to run so that I can be this active, healthy grandparent. So those are systems, the systems that you build into every day to be successful. And then she said, happy, productive kids. Well, how do you do that? How do you do that? So let's just walk through it scientifically, or what the science would say. We'll walk through it as far as overview. When you say, how do you get to kids that are happy and productive?
I guess happy is not the best word for it. Well, it is. That they putting me on the spot.
No, but just it's good that we have to think through these things sometimes, because when we think through them, it makes them become real, and it makes start to kind of shape some things towards that. Like, what does happy kids mean?
I mean, I want all their relationships to be, I want them to have a relationship with God. I want them to have relationships with whoever their significant other is, to be happy, healthy, that it's someone that they want to spend the rest of their life with, who are going to just be good for each other, be good for...
So what's the first thing that me and you can do to help them get there?
Be an example.
That's it.
Be there for them.
That's it. I mean, that's the first thing, is we can be an example. We can be there for them when they need us. We can show them what it looks like to have a happy, productive, loving relationship. Because here's the thing, parents. You have the capability to make your kids great, or you have the capability to screw them up greatly. And if you don't understand that you determine what your kid's adulthood is going to look like. And yes, there's some one-off stories of kids that overcome so much, and everybody overcomes something. And as you grow and you become a proficient and productive adult, you have had to overcome a lot of stuff. But what I've learned is that our families will mess us up and cause dysfunction in our lives, and cause us to assume and take on the same dysfunction that we saw growing up. So the best first system that we can build is a system to love each other well, so that our kids can see how to love others well. And then as they take that into their adulthood, then they're like, okay, I've seen an example, and I can operate in this example.
I think we also have to be careful, though, saying that with there are people who come from maybe the best family and families who've done the best for them, and they still do the opposite of what they've seen.
Yeah, that's true.
And go in a totally different direction.
Yeah, I agree. There are people that that still choose to make poor decisions, and they have no reason to make poor decisions because they saw a lot of good decisions growing up. But I mean, that's why the concept of free will is so important. I mean, we're not going to dig too deep into free will today, but free will is what keeps us who we are, but also tore everything down in the beginning. And people can tear their entire lives down by, that's a very godly example almost. No, it is a very godly example. Because God in the Garden of Eden, the greatest example of what it's like to live, but gave us free will. So the parents of everybody, Adam and Eve, had it all and had all the greatest understanding and all of the best places and all of the best things. And they still mess up because they have free will. So, yeah, that's a great connection as well. But we just got to be careful as parents to model what's right for our kids. So there's no excuse. Like, if they choose to screw their life up, they can't go, well, you screwed me up, that's why I'm screwing my life up. And
I think it comes from both. Like, sometimes as a new parent, when you are 21 and you leave a hospital with a tiny human being, without a guidebook, without someone there with you,
without
and
really
you're
knowing
growing,
how to put the car seat in.
right? And you're learning yourself. So I think there's just should be grace all around.
She's way more loving than me. In the Four Lenses place, when she had tested as a blue, which means she's high blue gold. So the high blue concept or the high blue understanding is very relationally focused, and she just made a very blue statement. I think everybody needs grace. I have had to work on that statement because I had to come from a place where I was like, yes, the pre-Jesus me, not everybody deserved grace. And there's stupid people out there that make stupid decisions, and I can't fix them. So just stay out of my way, and I'll stay out of yours. But she has taught me, that's why couples are so important. She has taught me the benefit of giving people grace and loving people well. And I had to grow into that. Because I still struggle, even when you made that statement, like, everybody deserves grace. I'm like, yeah, but people are stupid. Which is what she, doesn't like about me sometimes, because I am a little too green.
A little.
Because it's not just people are stupid. There was one time, and I'm still stupid. I still make stupid mistakes. I still make frustrating missteps. But we're just talking about systems. All of this is connected back to systems, because it's the systems that you build.
I feel like we went way off topic.
And we went way off, but we were way off, but still on, though. Because if you want your kids to be happy, productive human beings, you have to start developing systems in your life and in their life to get them there. And you have to show them, and this is one thing that I have not done well as a father, and it still bothers me every day. I am very good at teaching this stuff to everybody else outside of my family. And that is the frustrating point. Like last night, I had dinner with my sons, and I struggled because I was like, I got to teach them what people pay me money to teach them. And I want to teach it to my sons for free, but I still don't know how to do it. And that makes no sense to me whatsoever.
You don't know how to teach them?
It's hard to explain how I can't. I'm working through that. I'm wrestling through that as a father, because I'm like, well, they know me. They're not going to listen. And
I think sometimes history shows that too. Like, you referred to that football story with DJ all the time, how you tried to teach him something, and no matter how many times you said it, he didn't listen. But as soon as a different coach said the exact same thing, he listened.
Yeah, that story, I was too close to the situation. He was too close to me. And then I wanted to, like, break it down. Like, so what are your values? Like, what do you? And I asked one question. I asked them how their significant others were doing. I did ask that. And the response that I got from my oldest son was basically like, why are you asking this? And then it was like, well, she's been sick a lot because she's a school teacher. So anyway, it's hard. And these things are hard. But it doesn't mean I should stop doing it, because I'm going to try to keep doing it. I'm going to try to keep building. And the systems in your life are important, and everybody has them. Your life is defined by systems. And the more you focus on them and the more you try to make them better is going to determine how far you get in life and whether you reach those goals of having happy, productive, adult kids that you have been the parents of, and a happy, successful or long, healthy, happy life because you've started taking vitamins and you're walking and yeah.
I think it's also important to be able to open the door to your kids to say, what have I done that may have messed you up or has put you in a different, what have I done? I don't want, our children to walk around with hurt or carry anger or any misunderstanding because of something that we've unintentionally done or something that they've misunderstood that we've done.
Wow. When the Systems podcast turns into a parenting podcast.
Sorry.
No, that's good. No, because this is what I want this to be. Noah, this is what I'm talking about. This is when I'm in my comfort zone and when I love life the most and love this thing that we're doing the most. So let's talk through, how do you do that? Because that's hard to open up even to your kids and say, where have I screwed you up at? And first of all, repent of that. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. I will change my direction. That's repent means to turn around and do it differently. So let me repent and say, how do I apologize and ask your forgiveness? But how do you do that?
I think you just have to be open enough to do that and trust that whatever they're going to say, if they have anything to say, that you have the ears and heart to hear it.
Yeah. And not defend it.
Right.
I think that's the thing that I would have a tendency to want to do, and a lot of people would have the tendency, is to defend why I made the decisions that I made.
And the decisions that you've made or I've made or we've both made were necessarily right decisions, but maybe they were what we knew or what we could do at the time.
Yeah.
And we have to be okay with that.
Yeah. And I think there has to be that level of forgiveness. So hopefully, as our kids won't hold on to the pain that we've caused them in whatever we did, whatever decision that we made, whatever instance that brought up these hurtful places. I mean, I've talked about one that one of the mistakes that I made as a parent was trying to make my kids tough and trying to get them ready for life and ready for the world, and we got to make them strong. So what does that mean? That means I needed to be verbally abusive. Let's just call it what it is. And verbally abusive. So what does that mean? Let me not freak everybody out on the podcast.
I was like,
she didn't know where I was going. So when I say verbally, making them tough meant like when they made a mistake, like say they said a word wrong, I would highlight how they said the word wrong, but not in a nice way. And we still do that to an extent.
I was going to say, I think you've done that more poking and fun when they were older. But
yeah.
Not when they were.
When they were younger, I would still want them to be tougher. So basically it was all with the intent of, hey, don't do that because people are going to make fun of you. That was the mindset.
I think that's where my wanting them to be healthy or to be happy comes from, is there's so much in the world that can cause trauma and pain that I don't want to be the source of that. I want to be their safe place.
Yeah.
Regardless of how old they are.
And I do get jealous because they oftentimes, the girls talk to you more than they talk to me. But maybe it's because y'all are females. I don't know. But I do get a little bit jealous on that. Like,
yeah, we know. That's when Jada will text me. I'm like, did you tell your dad? Did you text your dad? You know how he gets in his feelings.
Which is interesting because I'm not supposed to have any feelings because greens are robots. But yeah, that I do get in my feelings every now and then because I'm like, hey, I got all this wisdom. I want to share it with you, but you don't ever ask me for it.
Maybe they don't want wisdom. Maybe they just want to talk.
Yeah, that's right. And I need to work on that. But as we continue just to create these spaces, like so if we want our kids to be happy and productive, and we have to give them the space to have the conversations with us that they need to have. We need to, and be okay with them. Like what you'll see as parents is your kids will remember a lot of the negative stuff more than they remember the positive stuff, which is what it seems like. Maybe I'm wrong, but they bring up the thoughts, the stuff like, remember when you did this? I'm like, no, I don't even remember that. I'm like, man, did that mess you up or something?
Maybe that's when you can have conversations.
Yeah, that's when I should have conversations like, I didn't mean to mess you up. But yeah, just learning, going through life. There was a point, now I know not the Cosby family, because I jokingly call, this is pre-incident. Her family was like the Cosby family, because when I grew up watching the Cosby Family, what was it called? The Cosby Show? Was it called the Cosby Show? I grew up watching that, and I thought their family was perfect. Like they had everything. Like mom and dad had great jobs, but he's a doctor, a psychiatrist or something, and mom's a lawyer, I think, and the kids are all perfect, and even though they had their little mess ups, but I just grew up seeing that. So I say all that to say I called Bree's family the Cosby family, because I was like, they were just perfect, and mom and dad are just great, and my family was great but dysfunctional in my mind. I didn't realize they were just they weren't y'all. Like y'all were just proper, and proper might be a little, but they seemed proper. But there was a moment. So I'm using this example because I can't say this about her family, because I didn't grow up around them. My perception of them was different. But my family, I actually called when I was 27 and told my parents I forgive them. Because what I realized is they were just trying to figure out what it was like to be an adult too, and raise 3 kids, and be on. My dad worked at a refinery and my mom worked at cleaned houses. So it's like being on minimal income, probably. I think we were, I would say, close to poverty level, like lower middle class, maybe at the most. But realizing that the challenges, and knowing as an adult, what are the challenges? I started experiencing the challenges of raising, because by the time we were 27, we had 4 kids. And we were on food stamps and WIC in the military, and going, hey, this is really hard to be an adult and raise kids. And I'm still trying to figure out who I am and my flaws and my idiosyncrasies and my bad habits that are slowing me down. I'm trying to figure out all that. So,
and look, you flipped it with all these good habits and structure.
See,
I'm trying to bring it back around. Did we go way off, Noah?
No. How much time are we in? Where are we at? 30 minutes? 30 minutes into systems and structure, but this is all systems related.
He said 0. He didn't say 30.
No, he said 30. He said we're at 30. But we talked about it. We're extending the guest section of the podcast to longer, so we're good.
Well, I'm not supposed to be a guest. I was just supposed to sit here and...
You're being a guest right now. You're a guest. You're okay. You're a guest. Systems and family and parenting. This is like all of it wrapped into one.
It is.
But my point is, systems are everything. If you want to be successful, you got to develop systems. You got to learn how to be productive. Because if you want to get to the places that she was talking about, as far as a healthy, long, happy life, you got to put systems in place. If you want to be productive, if you want your kids to be productive, you better develop the processes to be productive yourself, because how are they going to know how to be productive without that? So it's like, my initial thought of this podcast is going back to the very beginning, is how do we build this in? And what does my day look like? Well, me and Bree both have a calendar, and our calendars are connected, and whenever I send a meeting, I make sure she's on the meeting invite.
It is very helpful when you remember to attend.
And I'm 90% of the time remember.
95.
95% of the time I remember to add her to the invite. And we keep a Google Calendar, and our Google Calendar is synced up with my work calendar, and making sure that we all know, me and her know where we're going to be at during the week, and she knows what my schedule is. I know what her schedule is. And in that calendar, you have to be able to build and operate by a calendar because, okay, if you don't schedule your life, people will schedule your life for you. And that's what you don't want, because people will determine what's important in your life, and they will get on your calendar if you don't have a calendar. Does that make sense? You kind of look like that doesn't make sense. It does make sense. What are your thoughts? Does it make sense? It's okay. Push back.
How do people control your calendar?
Because they will try to set up spaces, meetings, time. They will try to get on your calendar if you don't have one. They're going to, and so like for instance.
So it's like overscheduling yourself because you don't have a calendar.
Yeah, you'll be overscheduled because you don't have anything to go off of. You have no template, no framework to operate from. So if I have, for instance, you use the gym, you know not to schedule meetings for me at a certain time during the day because you know my calendar. And if that's not there, and if I don't schedule that my gym time and put it on my calendar, you're scheduling because you schedule meetings for me. And then I'm upset because, oh, bro, that's in the middle of my gym time. But you don't know that because I don't have a calendar and I don't have it scheduled. So it's like I tell people, and I talk with people that I'm coaching right now, and it seems like to a couple people it's kind of a mind blowing concept. Because one dude he goes, so you mean I have to schedule my Devo times on my calendar? I'm like, yes. Because when you see that every day, it starts to develop a pattern in your mind, and you start to go, during this time to this time, I'm going to be having my prayer time. And from this time to this time, I'm going to be having my gym time. And from this time to this time, I schedule family time every day on my calendar. Did you know that? You didn't know that because it's on my work calendar. I haven't shown you.
I'm pretty sure it's on the Google Calendar.
Is it on the Google Calendar too? So my family time is from 6 to 8:30 at night, or 6 to 8 at night.
So when you say you schedule family time, it sounds, I guess, structured to me.
Too structured?
I guess it just sounds structured, and I just feel like family is not.
See, that's the difference. You would think you wouldn't have cold. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Like if you got to schedule your time with your family, then you got a problem. Mm-hmm. I schedule my family time, to make sure that I don't put anything else in place of it or make anything else a priority of it. Like, and the goal is, and I haven't done good with this, but if you start paying attention, you'll see, I try not to pick my phone up during that time. I try not to.
I think that's good.
But like without that, there's no telling. Mm-hmm. So I want to be able to see it, look at it, and operate my life by it. So that goes back to the actual point of having a calendar and scheduling things. Is people ask, well, how do I schedule what's important? And I'm like, and my first question is, well, what's important to you? Mm. So if you've heard me say this a lot, schedule your values. So what do you value? Your values are what's important to you. So going back to your example of a long, healthy, productive life, one of my values is health. I value health. I value being healthy. So how do I schedule that? That's my gym time. Mm-hmm. So if moving and exercise is part of health, which it is, you have to schedule that. So I schedule, that's a value of mine is health. A value of my most important values are God, family, and health. Those are the three things that I operate my life by.
So you've created this schedule. How long did it take you to determine where all these things fell in place? Like, did you have several iterations of this schedule, or?
That is a fantastic question. Look at that. When the student becomes a teacher. I love that. That's a fantastic question. Yes, and it's still ever changing. Like I've been wrestling with how do I go to the gym in the morning or how do I run in the morning? Like because I want to know what to be the most productive version of me. My optimized self. I'm always talking about optimization. People that know me know I'm talking about how do I optimize. So I want to build in the perfect plan that makes me the best version of me. So yes, it took me a long time to get there in multiple iterations. And I used to think that I'd have to schedule time with God, schedule prayer time, but I have to. Because if I don't, then I don't do it. I don't do it consistently. And I have to schedule gym time. If I don't do that, I don't do that consistently. Speaking of, we're 30 minutes in, but
I think we're beyond 30 minutes now.
In my trusted book right here. Hey, people that play, look, type this up good, whatever you put out there as the title of this show, because it is going to be good, because we're getting into some deep stuff right now. Here we go.
How much time does he have?
Watch this. You want to build your life? You want to build a great life? You got to start doing stuff like this. So my goal for this season, become a better husband by loving and lifting my wife into her identity and greatness. That's a goal.
I love that.
So a key motivation. So I had to make it smart, because you got to make goals smart. You got to make smart goal statements. So
What do you mean by that?
SMART goals: specific, measurable, actionable, results oriented, and timely.
I knew there was some kind of nerdy thing behind it.
Yes, it's an acronym. It's a SMART goal: specific, measurable, actionable or achievable. You can use the A for both those. Actionable or achievable, results oriented, and timely. So a SMART goal for that is by June 30th, 2025, I will grow as a husband by consistently loving my wife in intentional, meaningful ways that affirm her identity, nurture her heart, and encourage her to walk fully in her God-given greatness through words, actions, prayer, and partnership. Aww. So these are how I built up my goals. What are my key motivations? So I'll just give you a couple of them. My key motivation for doing this is because she is a gift from God, and I want to steward that gift with love, presence, and spiritual strength. My second key motivation is to speak life into the areas where she's forgotten who she is and who she's called to be.
You're going to make me cry.
Make me cry. Now, then it has to have next steps. So I built, what are my next steps? So how do I make this actionable goal a real thing? So I have my motivations, I have my actions, my next steps are this. Weekly words of life. And I'm starting to put these down. How do I do this? Speak or write intentional words each week affirming her identity, strengths, and beauty in both spiritual and personal terms. Second part. And these are the next steps. So these next steps are leading me towards the goal. So the first things I talked about are the motivations. Why do I want to do it? And then the next steps are how do I do it? So it's the why and the how do I actually walk this out? Because a goal is just a fantasy without a system behind it. So I can say all these pretty things and say these nice things about what I want to do for my wife, but if I don't put a system behind it, it ain't going to go. So the system is weekly words of life. That's the first part. The second part of the system, sacred time together. Schedule intentional date nights, and I put one per week. I know.
Oh, I'm holding you to that.
I know. I shouldn't have said that.
I'm holding you to that.
And one deeper connection rhythm. So what is that? Shared prayer together, a goal chat, or spiritual combo. So for those of y'all that are watching this podcast are going to become a like it
date
and subscribe to it. Yeah, date night once a week. We're going to talk about our intentional time in a future podcast when we talk about Power Hour. Another way, I'm going to pray over her every morning or evening. Speak scripture-based prayers over her and ask how I can partner with what God is doing in her life. Now, what I'm doing, what is God doing in your life? How can I partner with her with that? So these are my goals that I'm writing out and looking at every day. And there's some other steps to those. I'm just going to give you what one of them is. One of them's called micro surprises, but I'm not going any further with that. You can just
Let me go in your Amazon cart and start playing around.
But I have that
I love a surprise.
for each element of my life. So that's what the systems and the goals is about. It's about building and being intentional. Being intentional with what you do. If you want to get somewhere, you got to be intentional with how you're going to get there. And that's what goals and calendars and productivity, that's what it's all about. How are you going to get there? What are you going to do to walk these things out? Because like I said, goals without a system is just a fantasy. Mm-hmm. What is the system that you're going to put in place? What are the things you're going to do to walk this out? If you want your kids to be healthy, happy, and productive, what are you going to do right now to help them be healthy, happy, and productive? And helicopter parents, that doesn't mean micromanaging their life, because if you do that, you're not going to teach them how to make decisions and be happy and productive on their own. So be careful about that. And then how do I get to be a healthy, happy, productive grandparent? It's doing that right now. Remember, discipline is making the choices now that my future self will need. Mm-hmm. So that's what discipline is. And the last thing I'm going to say, I had something really witty and intentional and funny and impactful to say, and now I forgot it, but I think I'm just going to stick with this. Look. You have to be intentional about your life. You don't drift anywhere on accident. Like if you try to drift somewhere, like if you drift through life, you will never arrive at the destination that you want to go to. You cannot drift through life. You have to be intentional. You have to be mindful of what you're doing. You have to build systems. You have to learn how to operate your calendars. You have to learn how to be productive. You can't get there any other way. You can win the lottery, but you're going to run out of money. I don't care how much money that's why people that win the lottery go bankrupt, because they don't have a plan. No system. So as we get into this, we're going to get deeper into these things. Love y'all. Thank you to the fantastic. Can we just call you like a co-host? Can you be a co-host on this? Can there be times when you're sitting in the chair and somebody else is sitting in this chair and you're interviewing them and talking about life? I think that would be a great thing. Countercultural life. That's countercultural. That's different. Mm-hmm. Flipping the podcast host. So as we get deeper into this, because as you had some great questions. Thank you for who you are. I feel like you're going to hold me to the date night thing. I probably shouldn't. I don't know that. I don't know if that was a God thing. Like I opened up to that goal. That goal just happened to be there.
Is that starting this week?
Yeah, this is date number 1 right here. Woo, we're on a date.
No,
it's not date number 1. All right. All right, so shout out to everybody. Thank you, Bree, for who you are and who God has designed you to be. And thank you for being my wife and my best friend and the most beautiful woman on the planet. Love you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you to the dude behind the scenes that does it all, makes it all go, and tells us it's time to wrap this thing up, put a bow on it. Until the next time, Study Studio, a.k.a. The Kickback. Peace.